Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the MMOA podcast. My name is Kay Mayordomo. I am an outpatient physical therapist and a TA with the Modern Management of the Older Adult Division of the Institute of Clinical Excellence. So, I recently got back from a trip to South Korea and Japan for 2 weeks, and I felt inspired to take a look at the importance of travel and tourism for older adults, particularly if it has a role in healthy aging. Travel can be such an eye-opening experience and rich experience for us humans. For me, it was a time to get away from the hustle of everyday life. It was a chance to explore a new culture and learn about new culture, or two new cultures. For my mom also recently got back from a trip to the Philippines and Thailand before I left. And I think for both of us, it was a positive experience in light of a recent family tragedy. So, for a lot of older adults, it's a time where most of them are no longer working, they're retired. Their day to day may start to, they start to get a routine. It might start to get monotonous unless they're really good about signing up for new activities, new classes, exploring different foods, etc. Most of them are bound to a routine, whether that's good or bad. That includes their physical activity or inactivity choices, their nutritional choices, their social interaction with their family and friends, or lack of, and their daily experiences. The definition of tourism is a social, cultural, and economic phenomenon which entails the movement of people to countries or places outside of their usual environment for personal or business and professional purposes. I think travel is an amazing way for our older adult patients to break up their routine and shake up their habits at home. There's actually a study that looks at all of the research that we have currently on tourism and healthy aging and where that research is headed. And it's called The Role of Tourism in Healthy Aging, an Interdisciplinary and Conceptual Model, which we will dive into a section of that today. So, today specifically, we are going to talk about the 4 roles that travel and tourism can have on healthy aging. So, 1 is positive travel experiences, 2 is social participation, 3 is physical activity, and 4 is nutrition, which are things we talk about in MMOA, but today we're framing it in terms of travel and tourism and how it can positively affect our older adult population. So, our first role that travel and tourism can play on healthy aging is physical activity. On any trip, there's usually a lot of walking involved. For my friend and I, there was a lot of subway lines, walking up and down stairs, walking up and down hills, and we usually ended the day with at least 20,000 steps. Depending on the type of trip an older adult takes and where, there's bound to be a level of walking, stairs, hills, possibly cobblestone, and hills to climb to explore the area's history, landscape, buildings, and etc. To get food and to go shopping. We know that physical activity is a very common risk factor for comorbidities and death. And physical activity during travel can help make older adults more mobile, more independent. It can also inspire them to do more at home so that they can go on another trip in the future as well. So, before my mom went to the Philippines and Thailand, she had a trip earlier in the year to Switzerland and Italy. And there were a lot of stairs, there were a lot of cobblestones, and her friends definitely noted that she was having trouble going downstairs, like she was going down the stairs sideways. So we talked about that and we kind of planned, okay, well, you're going to go on another trip soon. How can we make that easier for you later? So it's a way to kind of get them to think about, okay, well, being mobile is important so I can travel to this place and this place. So physical activity on a trip is definitely a role that travel and tourism can have on healthy aging. Our second role that travel and tourism can have on healthy aging is nutrition. So on a trip, you're exposed to different foods. In South Korea and Japan, we were exposed to things like kimchi. We're exposed to protein at every meal and different types of protein that we wanted to try. I kid you not, there was no such thing as protein deficiencies on our trip because we needed to have wagyu more than once. We needed to have sushi more than once. We needed to have Korean barbecue more than once. So bring this up because aging comes with a lot of physiological changes that we talk about in our MMOA courses as well. Muscle loss every decade can occur. A lack of appetite or poor dental health can also lead to more functional decline because their nutrition or the older adults' nutrition may not quite be there. And then malnutrition can lead to cognitive decline and muscle loss and frailty. So, older adults traveling can lead them to try local foods, and that can be a motivation for a good chunk of our older adults to want to come back and maybe figure out how to make certain dishes themselves at home. And it frames nutrition in a new way where it's, oh, I'm not just eating because I need to, it's to try new things. And that can have a positive effect on their nutrition if they're getting a variety of vegetables, if they're getting a variety of carbs and protein, etc. So it can really be a good motivation for our older adults to explore a variety of foods. Our third role that tourism and travel can have on healthy aging is social participation. So, whether you want to or not, there is usually some form of social interaction during travel, whether that's asking locals where the bathroom is, asking about the local cuisine, or being on a cruise where there are a bunch of other people super excited to travel. There's a variety of ways to get social interaction. Or if they're traveling with a friend, they're spending a prolonged amount of time with their friends and hanging out with them every day and having meals with them. As we get older, we know that social isolation can become a big thing. We know this was huge during the pandemic because we wanted to keep our older adults safe. But that in turn took a chunk of what may constitute healthy aging away from them. It took away the social participation that's important for us. So, there is a protective role of social participation for physical and mental health that has been been documented since the 1970s. Having various forms of interpersonal interaction, um, social participation can help prevent and manage disease while giving our older adults a sense of belonging, a sense of self efficacy, social identity, and meaning. So, depending on the countries our older adults are traveling to, they may experience social interactions with friendly locals, like I did. Everyone my friend and I encountered in South Korea and Japan was super friendly, super helpful. I remember we walked into a little shop that had like silk coin purses and wallets and tissue holders and even silk postcards. We definitely had a language barrier, but we used Google Translator to communicate, and the lady who owned the shop was the sweetest lady. She made sure we had slippers while we walked around her shop because it had been raining, and we really didn't want to bring our shoes into her shop because of mud and dirt and out of respect. So there can be these little moments during travel that remind us how important these things can be to our human experience. Like sometimes it is the little interactions where someone is super kind and super helpful that helps us have more appreciation for just having more social interactions. And that kind of brings us to our last topic is positive travel experiences. Positive travel experiences have a role in healthy aging as well. Think about the last time you went on a trip. What kind of memories did you form? What new things did you learn? Was it similar to the things you experience at home? Were the things you did similar to the habits that you have at home, or was it different? As older adults get older, it can be easy to have negative emotions like anxiety, depression, anger, if their functional status starts to decline. And this can have a huge effect on our nervous system. It can have an effect on our immune system, our cardiovascular system, and our circulatory system. So having positive travel experiences is kind of the opposite of the negative emotions that our older adults can have. It can add to a patient's quality of life and health span, as travel is usually is people usually seek travel to acquire positive emotions such as pleasure, happiness, and relaxation. Like, even when I reflect on my trip to South Korea and Japan, there were so many fun memories. We learned a lot about temples. There was one temple called the Katsuji Temple where people travel to in hopes of a victory in either sport or on an interview or in a new business venture. We got to see a lot of different landscape, and it was fall, so we saw some fall colors in South Korea and Japan. And we got to see how another part of the world lives. We got to see pretty much how their subway system ran, how clean their public toilets were. It was awesome. So, having positive travel experiences can definitely add to a patient's quality of life and health span. So, as a recap, tourism and travel can contribute greatly to healthy aging. It bakes in physical activity into every day to explore the area you're traveling to, which may help motivate our older adult patients to do more when they are home. It can provide them with a fresh take on nutrition to make sure they aren't losing muscle mass as they get older and that they're getting enough nutrients in their diet. It can help with their potential feelings of social isolation because usually there's a lot of social interactions during travel. And lastly, it provides our older adults with positive travel experiences that can really provide and improve quality of life and health span. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving last week with family and friends. And I wanted to say how thankful I am to be serving our older adult population alongside the other MMOA faculty and all of our students that have taken MMOA in the past and are currently taking it. And I hope you enjoy the content we put out because we really are trying to level up how we treat and manage older adults in the rehab world. If you wanted to learn more about healthy aging and how to serve the older adult population, we do have some upcoming courses. So our last MMOA live course of the year is December 7th to 8th in Blue Ash, Ohio. The beginning of the year, we have Hendersonville, Tennessee on January 18th and 19th. And then we have Athol, Idaho, January 25th to 26th. We also have MMOA Level 1 and Level 2 online courses coming up at the beginning of January. So Level 1 will start January 8th, 2025, and MMOA Level 2 will begin January 9th, 2025. So our ICE courses also have a price increase before the new year. So if you are interested in taking some of our courses next year, be sure to check it out before the end of the year. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a good evening. Bye.